Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode on the Pro Wrestling Archives channel called Legends. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about the legendary ECW faction, the Triple Threat, the franchise Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow. And the list continues because of many different incarnations of the group. I want to start with the first incarnation, which was Shane Douglas, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko. In the early days of ECW, this was before my time in ECW as a fan. I did watch some tapes, and there were some great matches. At one point, Too Cold Scorpio was also a member of the Triple Threat. It only lasted one night. Now, we're going to start getting down into the Triple Threat that everybody remembers, and it starts for me with the Bulldozer Brian Lee. This guy, first off, I don't think anybody's heard from this guy in 25 years. Nobody knows where he's at or anything like that. If you hear from Brian Lee, let me know. I'd like to do a shoot interview with him because this guy was an interesting guy, man. He used to be the fake Undertaker in the WWF. He went down to Smoky Mountain, and he was kicking a lot of fucking ass down there. And definitely had a reputation for being a crazy motherfucker, making the ring rats buy him shit or, getting fucking thrown through like 20 tables by Tommy Dreamer. The dude's definitely a fucking ECW legend. And I want to also talk about the franchise Shane Douglas, who has probably become the greatest ECW World Heavyweight Champion, at least that I could think of. Maybe Terry Funk might rival him in that, but the franchise was like the Ric Flair of ECW, and I know the franchise didn't like Ric Flair, so that's kind of an odd comparison, but when it came down to really getting down to it and really growing into the character and really being able to work, the franchise Shane Douglas was up there with the best of them, man. And I'm glad that he got his run because of how it worked out for him in WWF. WCW, he was always, kind of a mid-card guy or even a tag guy. However, in ECW, he blossomed. And a lot of that had to do with the next person I'm going to talk about on this list, and that is Francine. The way that the franchise and Francine did their thing, in 96, 97, they were probably the best combination of a champion and a female valet/manager. And, Francine was rocking that 90s porn vibe hard, that stripper vibe hard back then. So, mad props to Francine, wherever you at, you still hot, all right? Going right down that list, we'll talk about Chris Candido, who's another guy that I'm glad got his run in the world of professional wrestling, because some of these guys that were coming up in Candido's time, like the 93, 94 era, like people like Chris Jericho or Lance Storm, not all of them fully got their chance. Chris Jericho got his. With Lance, I always thought that Lance could have been a lot more, and he started to get his in WCW. He had a pretty damn good run over there at the end, which we will talk about in another episode. It's real interesting, with Candido, because with Candido's case, his girl became a superstar, Sunny, and Candido was underutilized in the WWF situation, came down to ECW, got over with the ECW crowd with that fucking powerbomb off the top rope, and then, it was interesting to see when Sunny did come back and Sunny was down with the Triple Threat, seeing that franchise with Francine and Candido with Sunny and then Bam Bam Bigelow. That's a pretty fucking powerful fucking group, man. So I'm going to go right down that list now to Bam Bam Bigelow, and this is the guy that I really wanted to talk about. This is the guy why I'm doing this whole podcast right at this moment, is because Bam Bam Bigelow represents fucking wrestling. If you watch his career throughout it all, you won't see a flaw with Bam Bam Bigelow. And, I basically saw the man's whole career besides the stuff in Japan. I've gone back and watched the Memphis shit. I watched him, in the 87 Survivor Series. I watched him in the 91, 92 era. And later on, with the Lawrence Taylor shit. Then I saw him appear in ECW. And then I caught his later WCW run, And, it's just crazy to see the man's whole career unfold. And, the best part of Bam Bam Bigelow's career to me, besides, being pinned by Andre the Giant and shit like that in the big time, but he really found himself down in ECW. He became the first-time world champion down there. And that match with him in the franchise at November to Remember in Pittsburgh will always go down as one of the greatest matches in the history of wrestling. Anybody who watches that match will tell you that. Then I want to talk about this because this is actually, one of the more original moves that I've ever seen in pro wrestling was Bam Bam Bigelow picked up Spike Dudley and threw him into the first or second row crowd, knocking people down, fucking, causing a spectacle, man. I mean, nobody's ever seen anything like that before, and to see something like that at ECW was the definition of hardcore and innovative. So I just wanted to say this all about Bam Bam, is like, seeing how Bam Bam was utilized in ECW is really interesting because he, when he did put Spike Dudley over, he really put him over. However, what happened was the next match or two, Bam Bam came back stronger than ever and proved that, he wouldn't just be some big dude that gets beat by a little dude. This dude fucked people up. And, it's just crazy to see how many of these guys are now gone. The list continues, as far as when I go back and I look at all the people who have passed on and the different time periods that they passed is really interesting to me. I was watching something with China the other day, and I didn't realize she passed in 2016. I thought she might have been, a long time ago, but it was only 4 years ago. It's hard to keep up with all of it, man, because it just gets so, sad. However, there are, a lot of the guys in the Triple Threat, there are a lot of guys that are not here anymore, and I have to bring this up. Chris Benoit's not here anymore. Bam Bam Bigelow's not here anymore. And Chris Candido is not here anymore. So, and I got to say this too. Another manager who was involved in all this, Rick Rude, is not here anymore. But I do want to actually talk a little bit about him because I find Rick Rude to be another one of these people who helped, this whole Triple Threat thing go down. I remember he had a mask on, and he was wearing a robe that said, the Ravishing One or whatever, and he came down to ECW, and he would just follow around Francine, and it was this really crazy stalker gimmick. And, man, Rick Rude and Francine working promos together and shit like that, you can't beat that. Rick Rude's commentating around that time was really interesting as well. I know that some people say that, it's something that wouldn't have lasted. I don't know. I always liked what Rick Rude was doing. And, Rick Rude's a legitimate tough guy. I mean, he might have been injured and not be able to work, but, Raven talks about, how fucking Rick Rude, he saw one of Rick Rude's fights and, they were falling down into the mud and shit like that. So, I mean, Rick Rude was a scrappy motherfucker, man. Anybody from Minnesota will tell you that, man. Rick Rude could really go. But yeah, so I just wanted to conclude this, episode of, Legends and put over the Triple Threat because the Triple Threat is one of the baddest fucking factions in the history of pro wrestling. And to see that all happen the way that it did, much love to the franchise, much love to Francine, much love to Bam Bam Bigelow, much love to Rick Rude, much love to Chris Candido, much love to all the people that are still alive as well. I'll talk a little bit about Lance Storm real quick as I wrap it up. Lance Storm wasn't there by choice, He was there because he was, forced into a tag team situation with Chris Candido, and they won the tag belts. So, Lance Storm had a little run with the Triple Threat, but it wasn't very long. But, yeah, rest in peace, Bam Bam Bigelow, man. And all the other guys that have passed on. Much love, Shane Douglas. I'd love to see some more interviews and stuff with him and Francine and everybody. And Francine, if you are out there and you still got something that's open, relationship-wise, you could call the Pro Wrestling Archives at any time and set up a dinner date with Rick Reinhardt or Alan Fenstermaker. And Nah, we would like to do a shoot interview with you, Francine, and Kimona Wanalea and Beulah McGillicuddy. And that wraps up this episode here. Triple Threat forever. Peace.